All right, I'm back, y'all. Peace. Yeah, got some things I want to talk about. It's not taking no shots at nobody. It really isn't. I'm trying to push this survey thing. I'm gonna push it hard. Might push it hard today. It's really not taking shots at nobody. It's not taking shots at you, JMMA. I know you think I'm taking shots at you. No, but I'm gonna keep pushing this because when you repeat something and it's called, look it up. When you keep saying something over and over, it gets traction. And then it also, like they say, Dad, he's not gonna leave us alone. And I'm gonna explain it. I'm explaining the show. Give me a second. Shout out to everybody. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Appreciate everybody that comes through. Appreciate y'all. I noticed the shows I did it later today. I was trying to decide should I do a show today, but respecting my brother Don Ding. I call him my brother Don Ding. You know, I got to keep it moving. And Don Ding, my heart goes out to you and your family. I hope I don't have the right words to say because I went through what you're going through. I went through it twice, and I'm still trying to get over it a little bit. Some things it's just you let your memories hold on to the memories, and then they help motivate you. All right, back to the show. All right, everybody. This is I never said the show. This is Poe and the Community Speaks. This is episode 159. Let me make sure. I hate making this mistakes. Let me see. Yeah, episode 159. Even though y'all be like, bro, your information be wrong. Hey, if you can come back and debunk what I say, I'm okay with that. We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. If you could come back with information, we could sit there, even with the developers. He think he know everything about development. He think he know this and he think he know that. Let's debate it. Let's debate what you say you can't add in a video game. Let's debate the systems that you say you can't add in a video game. Let's go. Let's go. And I want to debate the fans that always protect the developers like they're developers. Let's go. Come on the show. Let's go. Y'all love to defend these developers. I'm not into defending anybody. My thing is, I want the most realistic boxing game that can be made. And my thing is to do the research and make sure it can be made, and it can be made. Let me see. Give me a second. One second. Okay. All right. Episode 159. Hold on. Let me see something. Because I be writing so much. Well, yeah, I'll be writing so much. Well, I'll be giving. Y'all will get it one day. Because everybody, they like nitpicking everything you do or say. Because when you nitpick something that they say, they come back and try to nitpick everything you say, and I'm okay with that, but we could debate about it. All right. Casual money versus authentic boxing. The dangerous assumption. Let's talk about something that keeps coming up. The idea that the money outweighs everything. Casuals don't notice the problems. Companies value casual opinions just as much as hardcore. And because of that, we shouldn't push for deeper systems. We shouldn't push for a survey. We shouldn't push for measurable authenticity. That mindset is dangerous. That mindset is dangerous. Not emotional. It's strategically. It's strategic. What's actually being said? All right. The argument goes like this: casual players make up most of the sales. Nah. They make the early sales. Casual fans don't make up most of the sales. They make up the early sales. Casuals don't play enough to notice deeper mechanics flaws. Therefore, companies prioritize them. Therefore, a survey doesn't matter. That sounds logical on the surface, but it falls apart under scrutiny. Casual revenue versus product longevity. Here's what people don't understand about sports games. They are not one and done arcade experiences. They rely on retention, replayability, competitive ecosystems, word of mouth, content creators, community discussions. And guess what fuels that? Not the player who gets 6 hours and leave. The dedicated players, the boxing heads, the people who feel when inside fighting is shallow, clinch logic is arcade, stamina isn't layered, damage states don't map properly. Hardcore players are not extra. Hardcore players are not extra. They are the stabilizers of the product. Yeah, excuse me. Casuals don't notice. This is the biggest misunderstanding. Casual players may not articulate the footwork, acceleration curve lacks internal base weight transfer. But they will say something feels off. Depth improves feel. Even when someone can't explain why, authenticity isn't about complexity for the sake of it. It's about coherence. The survey debate. The survey debate. Now let's get to the real issue. If companies truly believe casual opinions outweigh hardcore opinions, then why fear measurement? If companies truly believe casuals' opinions outweigh hardcore opinions, then why fear measurement? A third-party survey would validate assumptions, provide investor-facing data, clarify priority tiers, identify demand for deeper systems, remove guesswork. Remove guesswork. Opposing a survey doesn't protect development, it protects assumptions. That's the uncomfortable part. This isn't fans designing the game. This isn't fans designing the game. Let's be clear. Nobody is asking for design by committee, poll-based mechanics, crowd development code. A survey does not mean let fans build the game. It means measure what matters before commitment. Measure what matters before committing resources. Measuring what matters before committing resources. That's basic product validation. Every industry does it. Why shouldn't boxing games operate on why should boxing games operate on guesswork? Let me see if anybody came in. Give me a second. Let me see what the chat looking like. Guess I'm doing this dolo today. All right. Regardless of the fact. All right. The money argument is short-term thinking. Here's the flaw, and money outweighs everything. If you chase surface level accessibility, you choose authenticity. You lose trust. You lose long-term engagement. And once trust erodes, you don't get it back easily. Look at any game that launched shallow. The comeback isn't about graphics, it's about systems. Always. The real question, this debate isn't casual versus hardcore. It's assumption versus data. It's assumption versus data. Do you build based on we think this is what players want, or based on his measurable community data? That's the difference. Why this matters to boxing specifically. Boxing is not an arcade fantasy genre. It is a sport with deep tactical layers, historical weight, psychological warfare, systematic complexity. When you reduce it to button trading, surface animations, cosmetic realism, you disrespect the sport. And players feel that, whether they can explain it or not. If casual money outweighs everything, then measure it. If casual money outweighs everything, then measure it. If hardcore depth doesn't matter, then prove it. If surveys are useless, then why resist them? Data doesn't hurt honest development. It only exposes weak foundations. And if we truly care about boxing being represented authentically, then we should want clarity, not comfort. Here go my deep dive. Deep dive investigations. All right. This section of the episode isn't about emotion, it's structural. We're going to investigate the core claims being made and dismantle them one by one, calmly, logical, and strategically. This is a deep dive of what I just read. All right. Claim money outweighs everything. The framing. The argument suggests sales volume are better than systematic quality. Casual purchases justify shallow systems. Casual purchases justify shallow systems. Depth doesn't matter if revenue is strong. Depth doesn't matter if revenue is strong. My investigation. There are two types of revenue. Front-loaded revenue, launch hype, pre-orders, early adopters. The second one, sustained revenue, retention, DLC adoption, competitive ecosystem, word of mouth growth, streamer longevity. Strong games live or die on the second category. Sports games live or die on the second category. And if y'all wasn't paying attention, here, this is the second category. Retention, DLC adoption, competitive ecosystem, word of mouth growth, streamer longevity. If systems are shallow, retention drops. If systems are shallow, retention drops. Online population shrinks. Content creators move on. Hardcore base disengage. Brand trust declines. That directly impact future sales. Talking points. Short-term money can mask long-term erosion. Short-term money can mask long-term erosion. My answer to pushback, if someone says, yeah, but they already made their money, my response is, then build a sequel. Then why build a sequel? If sustainability doesn't matter, why invest in long-term brand health? All right. Casuals don't notice the problems. Casuals don't notice the problems. Investigation. Casual players may not use technical language, but they absolutely feel floaty movement, inconsistent stamina, unrealistic damage reactions, lack of inside fighting nuance. There's a difference between not noticing and not articulating. Depth improves feel even if players don't consciously analyze mechanics. Psychological reality. Players interpret experience emotionally. It feels realistic. It feels arcadey. Something's off. Those are system outputs. My talking points. Depth improves feel. Feel drives engagement. My answer to pushbacks. If someone says casuals don't care, my response is, if they don't care, sports games wouldn't invest millions into physics engines, animation blending, AI tuning, and stamina models. They value casual opinion just as much as hardcore. They value casual opinions just as much as hardcore. This sound balanced. And y'all know how I feel about the word balance. This sounds balanced. It isn't. There are 3 player tiers in sports sims. Hardcore, deep hours, system testers, competitive base, community anchors. Engage casuals, moderate playtime, influenced by reviews and streamers. Surface casuals, low hours, little retention, move to next release quickly. Hardcore players influence tier 2. Tier 2 influence sales perception. Tier 3 does not influence ecosystem stability. So valuing everyone equally ignores influence weight. So valuing everyone equally ignores influence weight. Not all opinions carry equal long-term impact. It's everyone opinion matters. If someone says everyone opinion matters, yes, but in product design, influence weight matters. The players who stay 300 hours shape the meta, not the ones who leave in 5. The survey debate, the core issue. The resistance to surveys is revealing. The resistance to surveys is revealing. Let's analyze why. A survey does 3 things: quantifies demand for realism systems, identifies priority features, reduces development risk. If leadership truly believes casual demands outweigh hardcore demand, then a survey confirms it. So why resist? The possible reason: fear of public data contradicting internal assumptions, concern about accountability, resource allocation, exposure, investor narrative control. My talking point: measurement strengthens confident leadership. It doesn't weaken it. Measurement strengthens confident leadership. It doesn't weaken it. Discord feedback is enough. If someone says that, Discord feedback is enough, my response is Discord feedback is anecdotal and fragmented. A structured third-party survey creates measurable, analyzable data sets. Let me see if I get anybody popped up. Salute. Warren taught me. We still here. They can't silence us. Exactly. Facts. I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming through. Exactly. They're not going to silence me. They're definitely not going to silence you, and they're not going to silence us. They're not going to silence us. Historical context. Look at sports game failures and comebacks. Comebacks were not cosmetic. They were systematic. AI overhaul, physics rework, career depth expansion, online infrastructure stabilization. No gang regains trust by saying casuals didn't notice. They regain trust by fixing systems. The real strategic question. This debate isn't casual versus hardcore. It's assumption-based design versus data-informed design. If developers assume casual players outweigh everything, that risk, if they measure, here's what 25,000 players prioritize. That's strategy. That's risk, but that's strategy for them. By saying that's what casual players. All right, debunking the emotional framing. Debunking the emotional framing. Sometimes the counter argument is subtle. You're trying to control development. You want fans to design the game. Let me clarify this. You're not asking for pole-based mechanics, crowd-coded systems, majority rule design. You're asking for priority validation, marketing clarity, community insight. That's standard product methodology. That's standard product methodology. Boxing specific context. Boxing is uniquely system heavy. Boxing is uniquely system heavy. Inside fighting layers, clinch logic, damage accumulation realism, fatigue modeling, psychological momentum, referee interaction, footwork inerrant. Remove those layers and sports collapse into punch trading with animations. That's not accessibility. That's simplification. That's not accessibility. That's simplification. That's a difference. All right. My final debunk. If someone says the average casual isn't playing enough to notice, my response is, then why would you build a product around the least invested demographic instead of strengthening the experience for the player who stay? Then why would you build a product around the least invested demographic instead of strengthening the experience for the players who stay? Silence usually follows that. Measure instead of assume. Measure instead of assume. Build systems that strengthen long-term retention. Respect the sport complexity. Use data to validate direction. This is not rebellion, it's risk mitigation. And that's how you keep the conversation intellectual instead of emotional. All right. Digging deep, y'all. Let me see what the chat looking like. I'm digging deep. Salute on precisely. Yeah, I'm about to dig a little deeper. Debunking the myth, we don't need a survey. This goes deeper. All right. There are 3 common claims a survey won't work. There's already a feedback section in the Discord. I read that. All right. All right. All right. Claim 1, the survey won't work. Investigation. When someone says a survey won't work, ask why. Surveys are used in product development, UX testing, marketing research, investor presentations, feature prioritization. Every major industry uses structured data collection. Why would sports game development be the exception? The real difference. There's a difference between random comments, structured data sets. A properly designed third-party survey can segment player types, rank feature demands, measure realism appetite, identify pain points, provide retention indicators. That's not theory, that's methodology. A survey doesn't design the game, it measures demand. A survey doesn't design the game, it measures demand. If someone says they won't listen anyway, my response is that's a leadership issue, not a survey issue. That's a leadership issue, not a survey issue. Data doesn't fail. Decision makers might. All right. There's a feedback section in Discord. There's a feedback section in the Discord. This one sounds logical. It's not. Discord feedback is unstructured, emotion-driven, repetitive, dominant by frequent posters, influenced by social dynamics, vulnerable to developer presence bias. Vulnerable to developer presence bias. That's this when people say stuff like that about we have a feedback session. They know what we want. I've been doing this for decades. I was a senior moderator for a reason. They were prepping me to be a community manager. I used to make polls. I used to make surveys. And I knew how they worked. The survey worked better than the polls. The surveys worked better than the wish list that we had. We had a wish list section on the in the EA forums. I could literally say that was my wish list section. That's how much I used to be in the wish list section. There we go. All right. Let me see. All right. Dad, I gotta read this all over so y'all can get context to what I'm saying. Investigation. Discord feedback is unstructured, emotional-driven, repetitive, dominated by frequent posters, influenced by social dynamics, vulnerable to developer presence bias. It is not quantifiable, statistically segmented, demographically balanced. Hate that word. Prioritized by scale. Discord shows noise. Discord shows noise. A survey shows patterns. A survey shows patterns. Patterns is what publishers and investors and shareholders look at and say, wow, we got to give them more money so we can get back double or triple our money. That's what they look at, patterns. The survey means more than what people think. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not guessing. Oh, he guessing. He think you know everything. Prove me wrong. That's all I'm saying. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Structural problem with Discord feedback. In Discord, the loudest voice can dominate perception. Threads derail. Ideas get buried. Feedback is anecdotal. All right, now let me say something. I've seen a couple of guys come into the Discord. They were saying they wanted to get a hold of excuse me, I got a brain fart. They was like, why aren't the developers responding to us? I want to tag them and stuff like that. And I was listening to his feedback and stuff. Nah, man. Nah. We not having that. We not having that. Because everything that you want in the game is not boxing. You want a fighting game. Your feedback is garbage. That should be on the survey. It should be on the survey. If that's what you want on a survey, that's why I say, hey, we need a survey. If you think your voice is that loud and you need to get what you're saying out there, that's why we need a survey. Everybody can have their say. If the casual fans outnumber the hardcore fans. All right. You shut guys up, shut guys like me up. You shut guys like me up. And don't attach the old head thing to it. It's hardcore younger fans too. All right. In a survey, every participant answered the same structured questions. In a survey, every participant answers the same structured questions. Results can be ranked, trends can be visualized, priorities become measurable. That's a complete different quality of data. My talking points. Discord feedback is conversation. A survey is measurement. Someone say they read everything in there. Someone says they read everything in there. My response, reading isn't quantifying. You can make priority decisions from scattered, you can't make priority decisions from scattered commentary without bias. You can't make priority decisions from scattered commentary without bias. They could say they see the feedback all they want. But with a survey, you got receipts. With a survey, you have receipts of what everybody wants. You see what the majority of the people want. If we want realism or hardcore mode as the default, that should be the default. And then you have the hybrid, then you have the arcade. And you know how you get people to test that? You get the boxing fans to test it for the hardcore mode, for the actual boxing part of it. Then you get the people for what they feel is, it seemed like in between. Then you let the casual people play the arcade mode. Them the testers. That's how you see. That's what I know what I'm talking about. When people say, "Pro, you don't know what you're talking about," I know which fan bases should be testing what. But y'all thing is y'all see a person. I should be giving my son these scripts. Maybe y'all listen to my son. But y'all see an older person and say, he's dealing in the old ways. Let's just disagree with him because he's an older guy. And it's crazy. We all want the same thing. Nobody in the NBA 2K or basketball genre, they don't care about that age stuff. They don't care about stuff like that. Nobody in Madden cares about that. But it's only in the box and they find a reason to try to shut people up. I'm not being quiet. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere. All right. Claim 3. That was claim 2. I forgot to tell y'all that's how I got them lined up. Claim 3. They already know what we want. This is the most dangerous assumption. This is the most dangerous assumption. Let's investigate. Let's investigate. If they already know what players want, why are there constant debates about realism versus arcade feel? If they already know what we want, why are there constant debates about realism versus arcade feel? Clinch death. inside fighting, career mode death, AI tendencies, referee systems. If knowledge were unified, conflict wouldn't be ongoing. If knowledge was unified, conflict wouldn't be ongoing. Cognitive bias reality. Developers like all humans are subject to confirmation bias. Developers like all humans are subject to confirmation bias. Survivorship bias, loud majority effects, internal echo chambers. Without structured external validation, perception can distort. Without structured external validation, perception can distort. A survey's correct blind spots. A survey corrects blind spots. Convince without measurement is assumption. Confidence without measurement is assumption. If someone says they have analytics, my response, analytics show behavior. They don't show desire. Playtime data doesn't tell you which unrealized systems player crave. That distinction is critical. Analytics show behavior. They don't show desire. Playtime doesn't tell you where unrealized systems players crave. That distinction is critical. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat. All right. The bigger issue, fear of accountability. That's the problem. The fear of accountability. Let's be honest about something. A public third-party survey creates transparent data, documented demand, measurable expectations. That introduces accountability. Some people don't oppose surveys because they won't work. They oppose them because they remove ambiguity. Ambiguity protects assumptions. I butchered that word. Ambiguity protects assumption. Clarity exposes direction. Can't believe I butchered that word, but at least I admitted it. Some people don't admit when they mess up on words. All right. Why this matters specifically for boxing? Boxing isn't a fantasy genre. It's a sports built on layered tactics, psychological warfare, damage accumulation, momentum shifts, inside nuance, referee influence. If development choices simplify those systems based on assumption rather than measurement, you erode authenticity. And once authenticity erodes, trust follows. If surveys don't work, why do billion-dollar industries rely on them? If surveys don't work, why do billion-dollar industries rely on them? If Discord feedback is enough, why do companies hire research firms? If developers already know what players want, why do games miss expectations? Measurement strengthens leadership. It doesn't threaten it. And wanting measurement isn't rebellion. It's responsibility. It's responsibility product advocacy. Excuse me. I'll be trying to read two lines at once. Excuse me. All right. All right. Survey data is a receipt published can't ignore. Survey data is a receipt published can't ignore. Let's elevate the conversation. This isn't about Discord debates anymore. This is about leverage. Because here's the reality. A properly structured survey is not just feedback, it's documentation. And documentation changes power dynamics. What a survey actually becomes, when done correctly, a third-party survey becomes a quantified demand map, a priority ranking system, a player segmentation breakdown, a retention indicator model, a risk assessment tool. But more importantly, it becomes a receipt. And receipts matter in business. A receipt and receipts matter in business. Why publishers respect data over noise? Why publishers respect data over noise? And when I say noise, that's what the Discord is. I know it might offend certain people, but that's what they see the Discord as, noise. No disrespect to anybody, because I post a lot in the Discord. Publishers and investors don't operate on passion. Discord threads, YouTube comments, forum arguments. They operate on risk reduction, marketing validations, monetization forecasting, retention modeling, competitive positioning. If you walk into a room and say the community wants deeper systems, that's opinion. If you walk in and say 18,742 players rank referee systems and clinch death at top 5 priorities, and 62% indication willingness to pay for simulation realistic DLC, that's leverage. Let me read that again because it might confuse some of y'all. 18,742 players rank referees systems and clinch death at top 5 priorities. All of them are top 5 priorities, with 62% indicating willingness to pay for simulation realism DLC. That's leverage. That's strategy. That's measurable. Why some people resist surveys? Because data removes flexibility. Because data removes flexibility. When you don't measure, you can pivot narratives. When you don't measure, you can pivot narratives. You can redefine what players want. You can blame engagement issues on niche demand. You can claim, you can claim casual dominance without proof. When you measure, the numbers speak. When you measure, the demand is archived. When you measure, the priorities are visible. When you measure, the accountability increases. And accountability makes people uncomfortable. And accountability makes people uncomfortable. I'm going to say it one more time in my Dr. Umar 3 times. And accountability makes people uncomfortable. All right. The investor angle. This is king. Investors ask, why does the what does the market demand? This is what investors ask. They literally ask this. I know, 100%. Investors ask, why does the market, what does the market demand? And no, this funny though, because I just got this question today. Somebody asked me, what does the market demand? And they was asking me, how do you know what fans want? Then they was asking me all these questions, and I was answering them. It was a guy. He was a big. What was he? No, I know what he was. He was a coach from in Germany. He was asking me questions, and I was trying to explain and break down him because he was a coach. But that's great things when people like that from different countries or whatever, they're interested. And that's my thing. I'm trying to make boxing be more involved. I'm trying to make boxers be more involved. Boxing, not boxers, boxing in general. And some people really get mad at me like it's a waste of my time. No, it's not a waste of my time. All right, let me get back to this. Investors ask, what does the market demand? What is the differentiation strategy? What reduces churn? What strengthens sequel viability? What strengthens sequel viability? And that's the problem right there. Sequel viability. Let me give me a second, y'all. That's a good question to build off of. Let me see. I know it's going to give me a second. All right. Give me a second. All right. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat. Nothing. Only 2 people here. Salute to y'all. Let me see how many people I got. Give me a second. All right. All right. Survey answers those questions. You know what I just read. Surveys answer those questions, especially in a sport like boxing, where the audience spans casual fans. In a sport like boxing, where the casual spans. Dad, go on. I'm up here trying to listen because it sounds like a dog got hit, and I'm an animal lover. All right. especially in a sport like boxing, where the audience spans casual fans and historians. Authenticity is part of brand value, especially, simulation depth differentiates the product from arcade combat games. Simulation depth differentiates the product from arcade combat games. Without data, leadership relies on instinct. With data, leadership risk. Without data, leadership reduces risk. Without data, leadership reduces risk. Investors prefer the second. Always. Discord is not a receipt. The Discord is not a receipt. Discord is conversational, fragmented, emotionally reactive, influenced by developer presence. Influenced by developer presence. Influenced by developer presence. Once people see developers, that's what they do that for. And these are the things that be bugging me out about people. I know the whole thing. I know the game plan. But people act like I don't know what I'm talking about. When the developers have their in that queue on the side, that's strategic. That's on purpose. People see the developers, even though they're not seeing anything, they see the developers and they change the way that they talk. Yeah, you have people in there that's still talking slick and saying certain things, but it keeps the whole Discord for just going crazy. All right. The Discord is dominated by repeated voices. It is not statistical representation, quantified at scale, presentation ready for publishers. A structured survey can be exported as graphs, heat maps, priority charts, willingness to pay indicators. There are people that will pay extra for story mode as an expansion. There are people that will pay for gems if they're crafted with detail. It's modes that people will actually pay for. I know a lot of people, they're going to be like, oh, Poe, don't do that. Don't say that. We got to keep it real. Some things that it's going to take them more time to do. It's some things that people are willing, that they're paying for it. They're willing to pay for it, but it has to be quality. It has to have replayability. If it's quality and replayability, people will buy it as an expansion or add-on. What that do is incentivize the developers to do it. And like when I be talking, I be telling the developers, even though it might just get flooded out or they might ignore it, the deeper you make the characters, like when you're making these DLCs, people only pay for boxers. They're willing to pay for boxers that represent the boxers accurately. Yeah, you got some fans that are super casual that don't care. Long as they got a boxer name, it's their name. They will still buy it. But you will sell more if the boxer represent the boxer. If a person look at that boxer, this I'm telling everybody, this is what I want y'all to do. This y'all got to do this from now on. When they put out, even when they Undisputed 2, let the AI versus AI play. That right there would tell you what the game is immediately. Let the AI versus the AI play itself and see how realistic the game plays. If it doesn't play like a boxing game, like a boxing match, it doesn't look realistic like a boxing match, step away from the controller. And I know y'all say, well, player versus play. No. When the AI versus AI tells you everything you need to know about representation of that boxer and the game, 100%. Because y'all gonna keep saying, oh, it's no, you talking about that AI versus AI stuff or you versus the computer stuff. No. It still tells you what kind of game you're getting. It's going to show you how the boxer has his techniques, his punching style, how the jabs look, how the hooks look, how the uppercuts look. That's AI versus AI. It's going to show you everything. If the AI can't do it, you're not going to be able to do it. All right. A structured survey can export as graphs, heat maps, priority charts, willingness to pay indicators. That's presentation material. That's boardroom material. That's leverage. The strategic question. If surveys are useless, why do corporations spend millions on marketing research if developers already know what we want? Why do products still miss expectation targets? Why do products still miss expectation targets? Because assumptions is not validation. Because assumptions is not validation. And validation is what publishers invest in. And validation is what publishers invest in. The power shift. Here's the real reason this matters. When a community has structured data, quantified priorities, measurable realism demand, the narratives change from fans are loud to the market is documented. That's not emotional pressure. That's strategic positioning. A survey isn't about fans controlling development. It's about document demand. And once demand is documented, publishers and investors can't dismiss it as noise. Data is a receipt, and receipts are hard to argue with. All right, this is my Q&A section. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat. All right, starting the QA. I went to see what y'all saying in the chat. Nobody is saying nothing. All right. Why survey matters? These are questions. Direct questions, direct answers. All right. Why do we need a survey when feedback section? Why do we need a survey when there's a feedback section in the Discord? This is a question. My answer. Discord is conversations. A survey is measurement. Discord feedback is unstructured, dominated by frequent posters, hard to quantify, not statistically segmented. Not statistically segmented. A survey asks every participant the same question. A survey asks every participant the same questions, produces rankable results, identifies player tiers, create presentation ready data, You can't walk into a publisher meeting with screenshots of Discord threads. You can walk in with charts. You can't walk into a publisher meeting with screenshots of Discord threads. You can't walk in with charts. Here's the question. Developers already know what we want. My answer, if they fully knew, there wouldn't be constant debates about realism versus arcade feel, clinch systems, AI tendencies, career death, stamina modeling. Confidence without measurement is assumption, and analytics show what the players do. Surveys show what players want but aren't getting. Surveys show what players want but aren't getting. That distinction matters. Casual players make up most of the sales. That's who matters. Casual players make up most of the sales. That's who matters. That's a question. My answer, casual players drive launch numbers. Casual players drive launch numbers. Hardcore players drive longevity. Casual players depend on retention. Excuse me. I don't know why I say casual player. Sports games depend on retention, competitive ecosystems, content creation, word of mouth. The most invested players stabilize the product. The most invested players stabilize the product. The smart strategy measures both tiers instead of guessing which one dominates long-term revenue. A survey won't change anything. That's a question. My answer, that's a leadership question, not a survey question. Data doesn't fail. Decision makers might ignore it. But document data reduces denial, reduces narrative shifting, creates accountability, strengthens investors' conversations. It becomes a receipt, and receipts matter. All right, question number 5. Discord feedback always shows what fans. Discord feedback already shows what what people want. Discord shows what vocal users want. A survey shows percentage breakdown, feature priority ranking, willingness to pay, demographic segmentation. Those are different levels of evidence. Those are different levels of evidence. You're trying to let fans design the game. My answer, no. A survey doesn't design mechanics. It validates priorities. There's a difference between how should the clinch system be coded and how important is inside fighting death compared to cosmetic features. The second question is marketed. The second question is market validation. That's responsible development. Publishers don't care about surveys. Publishers don't care about surveys. My answer, publishers care about risk reduction, market and validation, retention projections, competitive differentiations. Structured community data helps answer all of those. Boardroom operate on measurable signals, not form screenshots. Question 8. Casuals don't notice system death anyway. Casuals don't notice system depth anyway. My answer, they don't. I mean, they may not articulate it, but they feel it. Players don't say internal the internal curve lacks weight, transfer realism. They say something's fill off. Depth improves fill. Fill improves retention. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat. Nothing. All right. Surveys can be biased. Anything can be biased if poorly designed. Anything can be biased if poorly designed. That's why, excuse me, surveys can be biased. My answer, anything can be biased if poorly designed. That's why it shouldn't be it should be third party. Questions should be neutral. Player tiers should be segmented. Results should be transparent. The solution to bias isn't avoidance, it's structure. Why are you pushing this so hard? Question number 10. Why are you pushing this so hard? Fans say this all the time. People say this all the time. Poe, give up, give up, give up. I'm not in that give up era. Y'all in the give up era. Y'all give up too easy. Y'all say give up and accept. Oh, well, accept it. I can't. All right, my answer, because assumption-based development increases risk. Measurement reduces risk. If leadership is confident in their direction, data only strengthens their position. If they're wrong, data corrects it before it becomes expensive. If they're wrong, data corrects it before it becomes expensive. That's not rebellion. That's strategic advocacy. I'm advocating for y'all. I'm advocating for y'all. I want y'all to succeed. I want any company that's making a boxing game to succeed. I'm not against y'all. I'm against garbage. I'm against boxing being disrespected. I'm against y'all. Y'all keep making up all these excuses that the casual players are accepting. All right. Let me see. All right, question 11. Why does it matter? They're going to build what they want anyway. My answer, because development isn't just creative, it's financial. Studios answer to publishers, investors, budget allocations, sequel viability. If leadership says the community doesn't care about simulation death, and you have no data to counter that, that narrative sticks. Yup. See, I know what I be talking about. Y'all always be coming at me sideways. Y'all go off of how y'all feel or what y'all think or what the developers told y'all. Or what the developers told y'all because they don't want to do more. I have all these conversations downloaded. I have all these conversations downloaded for decades of asking questions behind the scenes and in front of people. And I like that developers like to pick my brain. When I'm on LinkedIn, jokes, they want to, hey, how you know this? You're right. They be asking me questions. And I know y'all like, oh, he capping, he just saying that. I don't have to lie. What, y'all gonna beat me up? What, it's gonna make me famous just by saying this? Nobody really cares about my YouTube. It's not gonna make me famous. I don't care about all that. I'm speaking in general. I'm just speaking the truth. Just because my truth doesn't resonate with you and you don't want it to be right, oh well. All right. If leadership says the community doesn't care about simulation death and you have no data to counter that, the narrative sticks. But if you have documented survey results showing 70% prioritize realism systems, 60% rank AI tendencies over cosmetics, 55% say death increases replayability. Now that's evidence. Without data, it's opinion versus opinion. Without data, it's opinion versus opinion. With data, it's evidence versus assumption. With data, it's evidence versus assumption. Question 12. Discord is the core community. That's enough. My answer. Discord is self-selecting. Discord is self-selecting. It represents the most engaged, the most reactive, the most present. It does not represent silent buyers, lapsed players, former fans, potential customers. A proper survey can reach email lists, social platforms, casual buyers, hardcore competitors. Discord is a room. A survey is a census. Discord is a room. A survey is a census. Question 13. A survey can be manipulated. A survey can be manipulated. That's why I asked for the third party. All right, let me see. Only if poorly designed. Best practices eliminate that. Unique response tracking, IP filtering, third-party hosting, transparent reporting, tier segmentation. Every major company runs surveys. Every major company runs surveys. If manipulation made them useless, marketing research wouldn't exist. The problem isn't surveys, it's execution. The problem isn't surveys, it's execution. Question 14. Developers already have internal analytics. My answer. Analytics show playtime, mode engagement, drop-off points, purchase behavior. Analytics do not show desired feature not implemented. Analytics do not show desired features not implemented. System players which existed. Perceive realism gaps. Trust levels. Future purchasing intent tied to death. Future purchasing intent tied to death. Behavior data is backward looking. Behavior data is backward looking. Survey data is forward looking. It's the difference between analytics and survey data. Question 15. You're overestimating how much realism matters. You're overestimating how much realism matters. My answer, then measure it. Then measure it. If realism demand is low, a survey proves it. If realism demand is high, leadership gains justification to invest in deeper systems. Either outcome reduces uncertainty. Opposing measurement implies discomfort with clarity. Opposing measurement implies discomfort with clarity. Question 16. Casual players won't fill out a survey. Casual players won't fill out a survey. My answer, casual players vote in polls, leave reviews, participate in giveaways, fill out post-purchase feedback forms, incentivize surveys, increase response rates. If 20,000 players respond across tiers, that's accountability scale. You don't need 100% participation. You need representation value. You need representative value, excuse me. Question 17. Surveys slow development. Question 17. Surveys slow development. My answer, poor direction slows development more. Building systems, players don't prioritize, waste budget, waste time, requires rework, damage trust. A survey up front reduces misallocation. It's not delay, it's calibration. Question 18. This is just fans wanting control. This is just fans wanting control. My answer, control will mean voting on mechanics. Control will mean voting on mechanics. Poll-based coding decision. Designed by majority. That's not what's being asked. What's being asked is priority ranking, demand validation, market insight. That's standard product strategy. Question 19. Hardcore players are a small minority. Hardcore players are a small minority. My answer, in sports simulations, hardcore players anchor competitive scenes, create guides, run tournaments, produce long-term content, influence engagement, influence engaged casuals. Even if they're 25% of the buyers, they can influence 60% of retention perception. Impact doesn't equal head count. Impact doesn't equal head count. If the game sells, the strategy worked. This is a question, question 20. If the game sells, the strategy worked. My answer, sales measure marketing success. Retention measure product strength. A launch can succeed while long-term engagement collapse. A launch can succeed while long-term engagement collapse. And that's exactly what's going on with Undisputed. A launch can succeed while long-term engagement collapsed. Publishers look at 30-day retention. I said that. Why do I know all these things? Why do I know all these things? Publishers look at 30-day retention, 90-day retention, DLC attach rate, sequel carryover. Surface sales numbers don't tell the full story. Surface sales numbers don't tell the story. Question 21. Why are you framing this like leadership is wrong? Question 21. Why are you framing this like leadership is wrong? My answer, this isn't about accusing leadership. Yes, it is. It's about strengthening leadership. Strong leadership without measurement. Weak leadership avoids it. Data is a shield, not a weapon. Data is a shield, not a weapon. Question 22. What if the survey proves you wrong? My answer, then adjust. That's maturity. If realism demand ranks low, you recalibrate messaging, you redesign focus, you adopt strategy. The goal isn't ego validation. The goal isn't ego validation, it's clarity. And that's what I'm trying to do. I want clarity. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Why does this matter so much to you? Because boxing isn't just another combat genre. It's a layered sport built on tactical nuance, psychological warfare, momentum shifts, accumulative damage, inside positioning. When development is driven by assumption instead of measurement, complexity gets flattened. Once flattened, trust erodes, and trust is harder to rebuild than features. Question 24. If they don't want to do a survey, that's their choice. My answer, absolutely. And it's the community choice to avoid. And it's the community choice to advocate for measurement. Transparency strengthens brand confidence. Avoiding measurement fuels speculation. Leadership decides. Community responds. A survey isn't about rebellion. It's about documentation. It turns we think into we know. It turns noise into numbers, and numbers are harder to dismiss than opinion. Right, let me see. Let me see what y'all saying in here. All right. Let me loop around because this is something I want to talk about. What strengthens sequel viability after a bad game? What strengthens sequel viability after a bad game? A bad launch doesn't kill a franchise, but denial does. If a first release underperforms, whether due to shallow depth, instability, or unmet expectation, the sequel viability depends on one thing: credible correction. Let's break this down structurally. Honest postmortem, internal and external. Before a sequel is even discussed, leadership must identify what fell technically, what fell systematically, What felt perception-wise? What felt competitively? There are two kinds of failure: mechanical failure, systems, AI, balance, death. Structural failure, communication, overpromising, tone. If you only fix mechanics but not trust, viability weakens. If you only fix PR but not systems, the sequel collapse. You need both. Systems over cosmetics. Systems over cosmetics. History shows that cosmetics upgrades don't revive damaged brands. History shows that cosmetic upgrades doesn't revive damaged brands. True Comeback focuses on core AI rework, physics or movement calibrations, stamina and damage redesign, deeper career loops, deeper career loops, deeper career loops, structural feature completion, structure feature completions. If the feature gain lack inside fighting depth, clinch nuance, referee systems, or authentic fatigue modeling, the sequel must visibly rebuild those layers, not tweak them. The sequel must visibly rebuild those them layers, not tweak them, rebuild them. Public demonstrable improvement. Players don't respond to promises, they respond to proof. That means developer diaries showing system rewrites, side-by-side comparisons, transparent roadmaps, acknowledgement of past shortcomings. Silence weakens sequel viability. Silence weakens sequel viability. Transparency strengthens it. Still sitting. Silence weakens sequel viability. Transparency strengthens it. All these things that y'all keep showing, these how to play, and you're talking to this trainer or this boxer. That's nothing. That shows nothing. That's not helping your movement to go on to Undisputed 2. That's not helping at all. Retention modeling. Retention modeling, not just sales modeling. Retention modeling, not just sales modeling. A sequel cannot rely on launch hype alone. Publishers will evaluate 30-day retention, 90-day retention, player returns rates, competitive engagement, DLC attachment. If the game had poor retention, the sequel must directly address why. If the game had poor retention, the sequel must directly address why. Retention is strengthened by depth, balance, hate that word, replay value, competitive stability, not by flash. Data back direction. After a bad game, assumption-based design becomes riskier. After a bad game, assumption-based design becomes riskier. Developers want evidence of demand, feature prioritization clarity, marketing segmentation insight, structured survey data, Structure survey data or measurable community input strength SQL green lighting because it reduces certainty. A part 2 is not guaranteed. Companies they stop making games like, hey, we're gonna make a part 2, and they'll stop it like a week or two later, a month or two later, right in the middle of development. You know why do I know? Because there was supposed to be a Fight Night Champion 2. Not guessing. This is something I 100% know. There was supposed to be a Fight Night Champion 2. But that left the table. It was on the table and it left. Without leadership is asking investors to without that, hold on, let me read it so y'all can get priority. I mean, y'all can see what I'm talking about. Structured surveys are measurable community input strengthen SQL green lighting because it reduces uncertainty. Without that, leadership is asking investors to trust instinct. Without that, leadership is asking investors to trust instinct. After a stumble, instinct alone isn't enough. Rebuilding hardcore trust. Casual players may forgive quickly. The casual players may forgive quickly. Hardcore players remember, and hardcore players influence online ecosystem stability, content creation, competitive legitimacy, word of mouth. If you regain the trust of the most invested segment, perception shifts. That perception shifts influence broader audiences. Daggone. All right. Clear differentiation strategy. Clear differentiation strategy. If the game felt shallow, arcade leaning, mechanically inconsistent, the sequel must position itself clearly, more simulation driven, more tactically layered, more authentic to the sport. A sequel without a distinct identity upgrade feels like a patch, not a reinvention. Leadership, humility. Leadership, humility. One of the strongest signals investors and players look for: accountability. Statements like, we missed the mark in X area. We underestimate Y systems. Here's how we rebuilt it. That increases confidence. Defensiveness decreases it. Long-term support plan. Sequel viability increases when there's a visible post-launch support roadmap. Balance update cadence. Community reporting system. Competitive season structure. A sequel can't just be fixed. It must be supported. A sequel can't be fixed. It must be reported. The psychological reset. A sequel after a bad game must feel like a course correction, not a cash grab. A sequel after a bad game must feel like a course correction, not a cash grab. If players feel the sequel exists only to remonetize unresolved issues, trust collapse permanently. If players feel the sequel exists only to remonetize unresolved issues, trust collapse permanently. If they feel it's a genuine rebuild, they return. The core formula. After a bad game, SQL viability equal SQL overhaul. Transparent accountability plus measurable demand plus retention focus design. Miss one of those pillars, risk increases. Hit all four, come back, potential risk, rises significantly. A SQL isn't saved by marketing, it's saved by evidence that the foundation has changed. If the foundation remained the same, history repeats. All right, y'all. I did almost 2 hours, and I'm in the show. I know I started to get the show late today, and that's probably why I don't have the people in here like I usually have. But I appreciate John taught me for coming through. I appreciate I'm Precisely _1. Shout out to Don D. My heart goes out to you and your family. Y'all can reach Don D. He's gonna be on Twitch. Don D 205. He's on Twitch. He's on Twitter. Don D 205 TV, and he's on Twitter. You know, support the brother. Let me see. Shout out to the Wishlist Mafia. Shout out to Papanosis. Shout out to my co-host that's not here, but you know, still love, no love lost. Shout out to AJ Pax, he's working on things. Shout out to Leafy, he's working on things. Shout out to JMMA. Shout out to Peroxis. Shout out to Remy. Shout out to everybody that support me. I apologize if I miss your name. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Lamont Davis. Shout out to Mike Adams. Shout out to who else being here a lot. Sorry that I missed your names, but, you know, shout out to y'all. Shout out to eSports Boxing, eChampion Boxing. Shout out to y'all. You know, shout out to, you know, the whole community that support me. And shout out to y'all that don't support me. Whatever. All right. To the next show. Peace.